Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Sam, we're live on Facebook. We did it. Oh,
We
Sam.
did it. We did it.
Oh my God. My echoes in the background because I'm watching it at the same time that I'm on
We
it.
are Facebook savages.
Millennials for the win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
I'm so happy you're here. Thank you so much for being my first guest. I'm so excited.
Me too.
Um, So let's just jump right into it. Can you just give viewers and people in this group a quick background of who you are, what it is you do, and just sort of the amazing impact that you have in the world?
Yeah. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me. I'm so excited to be here and get to know your audience and talk and share and kind of dance a little. So, yeah, I'm Sam, and I am a mindset coach. And mostly I help women lose weight and heal the relationship with food and their body because of my own past experiences with binge eating and basically being such an asshole to myself for so long. Now I help other women just be so much nicer to themselves and start to heal their relationship with food so that they can just feel really confident, feel good, do the things that make them happy. And what ends up happening is that they end up losing weight. So we focus on the emotional weight that they have to lose first and dig into the mindset stuff. And then they can lose the physical weight. And the whole framework in which I've developed only happened because I lost weight, and then I lost 30 pounds, and then I started sabotaging myself and realized that it was because my beliefs were that I couldn't actually sustain it. And so I was doing all these things to get in my own way. And once I realized that the mindset portion was actually the thing that really mattered, that's when I was able to lose the last 10 to 15 pounds that kept lingering and help my clients do it. And so now that's what I teach is how to actually go deep, do the deep inner work first before trying to lose weight, or else you're just gonna lose weight and then regain it. And yeah, so, and it's so fun. I have so much fun with it and empower my clients to really just feel so good and confident in their body so they can go live in their purpose. That's the big overarching thing is you can't show up in your life if you feel like crap. And
Yeah.
so empowering them to feel really good so that they can go show up in their relationships, in their work, go live out the things they're supposed to be doing on this earth. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's really incredible. I think it's so important no matter what your goals are in life to be able to have a mindset shift so that those goals become sustainable habits. Because I know for me, whether it's with body image or career goals or relationship goals, if I'm just focusing on the outcome or the end result, then I'm constantly setting myself up for disappointment because what hasn't been solidified is how I see things and my perspective. um,
Totally.
so I'm
Yeah.
curious, for your in your own personal experience before you even started working with clients, what were some of your limiting beliefs or some of the thoughts that you had about yourself?
Oh my God. I had so many. I am still figuring them out. It's hilarious. Every time you're like, oh, I got them, I'm
Mhm.
good, another one pops up, but I think the first ones that I started to identify were I don't fit in and I'm not good enough. Those are my two core wounds. The fitting in was a lot of experiences growing up and feeling always the outcast, or I was never the cool one or the most popular, and I always felt really isolated, although I on the surface appeared fine. Deep down I was very unhappy. I just wouldn't really allow myself to feel that way.
Yeah.
And then I think the other one, the good enough, was just to do with my parents, right? Having high expectations. My dad, especially, being a super crazy perfectionist and having a really high expectations for me, and me feeling I could never do anything to please him.
Mm.
And so I was always searching for validation outside of myself, when in fact I realized I have to do that for myself. I can't wait for someone to acknowledge me. I have to acknowledge myself. And I remember when I discovered those, this was probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I realized this, maybe 2 years ago. It was I just fell on the ground, in the fetal position, being holy shit, this is what I've been telling myself. I've never felt like I fit in. I always felt like an outcast. And that made me further do things that would isolate me. And same with the good enough. I was such a perfectionist. And to a fault. And now I'm seeing like that actually played a really pivotal role in my like development as a coach, and like my ability to grow a business really like great and like, successful and all these things. But it also has a place, and then it also can do a disservice. So like understanding that I'm really grateful for my experiences and the limiting beliefs, because they've gotten me to this place. But now I've been able to kind of transfer those into more empowered beliefs.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, just like as you're talking, like I relate to like everything that you just said in a lot of ways, especially the feeling like I'm not good enough. And then dealing with it using perfectionism or productivity, and how acceptable and encouraged that is in our culture and society. So
Totally.
we're reinforced for those coping mechanisms, for those negative beliefs, which doesn't do us a service in allowing us to acknowledge those negative thoughts, or those core wounds, as you called them, and find other ways to heal those wounds while still, meeting the expectations of society, whether it's having a job, feeding myself, a roof over my head,
Yeah.
and being able to separate them, but also see the value in that skill, but as separate from how do I cope with this feeling of not being enough.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like I've been doing a lot of like reflecting back on my own story and where that pattern showed up. Like I used to think it only showed up in a certain place in my life. And I realized like that pattern actually showed up everywhere, like literally everywhere, down to my workouts not being good enough. I had to work out like fucking 15 times a week, probably. Like I was doing double sessions. Like that wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
My calories, like they couldn't get low enough. Right. My relationships, like I couldn't love enough, or I wasn't beautiful enough. My body, someone told me, one of my old bosses, actually, she was like, your body doesn't matter, or you're stronger than you look. That's what she said to me. And I was like, and that was like, wow, I'm still not enough there athletically. When I like in high school, like I didn't make certain sports teams. Okay. I wasn't enough there. Like I was never enough. And like
Yeah.
every time these events would like further affirm that. And then in my body, like for someone to say that to me, and then someone telling me like when I had lost the weight, like, oh, you're not going to keep that off. I was like, well, I guess I'm not good enough to keep it off either. And it was like all of this like bullshit that I was buying into that I didn't even know that I was buying into until I discovered that. And I was like, whoa, all I've been doing is trying to prove myself this entire time. Like trying to grow my Instagram as much as possible, like always chasing more followers. Like literally that was like my MO. I was like, I just want to grow my followers. I didn't even know why. I was just so obsessed with like that validation. I want more likes. I want more this. I want people to acknowledge me. Like, why can't anyone just tell me I'm beautiful? Like, because I didn't believe it myself. And it was just like this like aha moment of holy shit. Like I've been living my whole entire life trying to prove something that's already true,
Mm-hmm.
which is I'm good enough. And like I still have to remind myself of that. Like we all do, I think. But
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like that's the cycle of when you're trying to prove something that's already true. Like no wonder why it feels like you're going crazy.
Right. Yeah, it's a never ending game, because there's no finish line, because it's already here. It starts right here.
Yeah.
But we're looking for it out there, and it doesn't exist out there. So it's just a constant seeking and seeking, and then and then even that feeling is like not enough, right? Like just
Exactly.
endless dissatisfaction and feeling of like I can't fill up enough. I can't fill
Yeah.
up enough.
Yeah. That's like the destination addiction, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and Abraham Hicks, I don't know if you listen to her, but she's amazing. And something she said once was two things. One was, say you have a goal, right? Whatever that is. It could be a business, it could be a relationship, it could be, your physique, working through a pattern or something. As soon as you have a goal and you desire more, as soon as you get to your goal, you're going to desire more. So what if you were just satisfied with where you're at, but eager for more? And that mantra, like I like heard it and I was like, oh my God, that's literally what I've been doing my entire life, is chasing the next thing. I'm never fucking happy with what I have. Like, I'm grateful, but I was never satisfied. Like, I was always like, what's next though? Yeah, but more, but more, but more. I got more. I need more money, relationships, food, this, progress. It's like, no, I don't. I don't. I'm here. Like, I'm good. And
Yeah.
anything more is bonus. And that reframe was so powerful for me because I had never acknowledged and like just sat down. It's like you get to the top of like the mountain. I have this like vision in my mind of what this would be like. It's like you're chasing the next mountain. You're always climbing mountaintops. And then one day you get to the top of the mountain and you realize like, I did it. I'm here. And I had this like this humbling moment, I guess, where I was like, yeah, I am just here.
Right.
And I never got that before. Like, I was like, when people say like, you are where you are, I'm like, no, bitch, I want to be over there. Fuck this,
Right. Right.
And it did take me, I think it took me a lot of chasing the next thing to realize like, you're always going to want more.
Mm-hmm.
That's just human.
Yeah.
But if you only focus on that and never like practice being satisfied with where you're at, you're going to be in a constant state of dissatisfaction and like searching for stuff outside of you. And that's all I was doing. Like, and I still get caught in that pattern. I don't know about you, but like, it's easy to just go, do. And
Oh yeah, I get caught in it all the time, and especially when I'm in the US. I find if I'm overseas, like either in Asia or Latin America, where life is just slower,
yeah,
it's a lot easier for me to let go of outcome, of doing more, of being better, and just totally be, because culturally that's more acceptable. Whereas here, like, we're surrounded by more, do, bigger, better, faster, stronger.
yeah,
So it's easy to get sucked into it. And if that's already a core existing belief, it's even easier because it's reinforcing that. So
yeah,
it's a constant battle, and like a constant, at least for me, like a daily check-in with myself, a reminder that nope, I'm enough right here just as I am. I was born this way and I'm good. And if I want to set goals, I can, and I'm going to let go of my expectations and outcomes and just do one foot in front of the other. Because
yeah.
it's so easy to just get swept right into that wave. So
I love
yeah.
that. I think like a mantra I use around the expectation is like have intentions, not expectations.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the like peace and release. You're like,
Yeah.
all right, I want this thing. And if I want it and I believe I can have it, it will happen eventually. So I'm not going to be so obsessed with when and how. I'm just going to trust. And I think that's like the biggest lesson I've learned in the past. I mean, that's been like a recurring theme for me in the past probably like 3 to 6 months is like trust. If you're doing things that are in like love and service, I just like truly believe that if it's coming from that place, everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Like, and it always has been. Like, you've always gotten through. And I always try to remind myself of that. It's like, I've dealt with hard shit, and I'm having this conversation with you right now. I've lived another day. Like, yeah, it's not always easy, but if I've gotten through all that other stuff, I'm good. If
Mm-hmm.
other people can get through all the stuff that they're going through right now, I'm fucking blessed. Like, I am so grateful for my problems, like
Yeah.
I'm grateful to have a credit card to pay off, like I'm grateful to have
Right.
like taxes to pay, like stuff like that where I would get so mad. I was like, no, I am in such a beautiful place. And I still have a shit ton of things I got to work through, but like, I'm grateful for the problems.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's days where I'm like, fuck this, what the hell?
Yeah.
But more often than not, like just keeping it real. Like
Yeah.
I'm a human, So, and I think
Yeah.
letting ourselves feel the things is like super, and that's what you talk about. I love that you ask such powerful questions in all of your writing and your Instagram posts. And I'm like, yes, like asking the questions is really how you dig into this stuff and like figure out who you are.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little, because I'm curious about, you mentioned these kind of two core wounds of not fitting in and not being enough. And it sounds like you've done a lot of introspection and self-reflection and asked those hard questions. And so I'm curious if you can talk a little bit about how you started to ask those questions, and what the, like if someone was like, okay, I want to find out those things about myself, like what's the blueprint? How do I go about doing that?
Yeah, totally. Well, I think the first thing is to acknowledge yourself for having self-awareness, to even recognize that you had that belief in the first place. Like being self-aware is really hard. And it can, if it doesn't come naturally to you, and if that wasn't modeled to you growing up. So that's a huge win, because I remember like, I didn't even know I had the belief until, like I said, like 2 years ago. So I've been living my life not realizing this. And a lot of people live their entire lives not realizing it. So that's huge. And then I think the first thing I did was questioned the belief. And I just got like curious around it. I wasn't, I think at that place in my life, I felt like really defeated that I had felt that way, because I was like, oh my God, like the world's ending. Like that's how it felt. It almost felt like I was like being broken in half. And it felt very like emotionally taxing. Like I couldn't even do my work. I was just like on the floor. And that's not like me. Like I'm very energetic and bubbly. And I was like, what is happening? Am I dying? Like what the hell? So I think giving yourself grace and like space to do the work, and like doing it whatever pace feels really good for you, is like, it doesn't need to be painful, but just respect that it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got curious around like the do I fit in, like I don't fit in question. And I was asking myself like, well, do I fit in? And I was like, no, I actually don't fit in. Right. And my coach was the one that helped me see this. And he's like, yeah, you don't fit in because you weren't meant to. And I was like, oh, and it kind of like gave me permission to like not be an outcast, right? But like to just be me.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever that meant. I think no one feels like they fit in. Like everyone always has something where they're like, I don't fit in. And it's like, yeah, no one fits in. There's no in to fit into. Like we are all so different. And I wanted to so badly like be like them.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that meant. I want to be like those girls. And I realized like, why? Like why? And it was like, I just wanted love. And I realized like, no, like I can do that for myself. And I have to, in fact, do that for myself. And so I started getting really curious around it and asking myself like, well, like, who am I? That was the next question, was like, is this belief true? Yes or no? And what's an empowered belief I can start to like replace it with?
Mm-hmm.
And I think like, instead of saying like, I don't fit in, I was like, yeah, like I was meant to stand out because, and my because was like, I am becoming someone who, so using a verb that is like a process verb, not like I am, beautiful. If you don't believe you're beautiful and you say I'm beautiful, like that doesn't work. You can't like trick your brain. So if you say I am becoming, I started thinking about like, well, who am I? Like, do I fit in? No. What am I? Who am I? Like, what am I doing here? Like these like crazy existential questions. And I was like, I'm just trying to help people. Like that's what I'm trying to do. And you have to stand out in a certain sense in order to help people, because or else you would be the person that's getting helped right now. So I was like, yeah, I have to stand out because people need to know that I can help them. And it all kind of clicked in my head like, oh, I have a purpose, and part of it is to be the energy that I am and like embrace it. Like just love the parts of me that I was like denying for so long. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm too much, like, or I'm too loud, or I have too much energy, or I'm too whatever. It's like, for compared to what? And like
Yeah.
who? It's like, no, I'm fucking me, yo. Like, this is me. If you don't like me, bye.
Yeah.
And like, I say that in kind of like fun, but it's like, it took me a long time to be able to really say that and mean it. Like, I fucking like who I am. And I think it's a matter of like stepping outside and being like, well, who am I? Do I like the person I am? And at that point I did not
Mm-hmm.
like who I was. And like, I was such a victim. I complained about everything. Like everything was like, woe is me. My finances suck. My business sucks. Like I'm blah, 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 blah. Right. Like I'm ugly. I'm fat, all the things. And I'm like, oh, like that sounds so gross. Like I don't want to be that. So I was
Yeah.
like, no, I'm making a decision. And I just like decided on that day, I was like, I'm going to start being the person I want to be, little step by step. I was like, okay, what's like, and so I think for, you know, for everyone listening is like, what's one thing you can do to start getting closer to the person you want to be? Right. And like, that's all you can do, because for so long I tried to do everything at once, and that led me to doing nothing because I just got really overwhelmed and did nothing
Mm-hmm.
and just binge ate basically to distract myself from doing the
Get there.
thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think getting curious with yourself in from a space of like understanding and compassion and love, because if you do it from a place of judgment and like I hate myself, which is what I did for the first few years, I'll be honest, I like tried to hate myself into a new person
Mm-hmm.
instead of being like, wait a second, I've just had a lot of experiences in my childhood, you know, growing up, things people told me that weren't actually my beliefs. And like almost thinking of myself like my inner child, right? Like thinking of myself like she just didn't know. Like I just didn't know like that I was good, that I was loved, that I was fine the way I was. And any belief I've thought or had that doesn't agree with that isn't mine. It's not. Like we
Mm-hmm.
are all born whole and complete. And anytime anyone used to say that to me, I'd be like, shut the fuck up. Like I just didn't get it. You know, I wasn't like ready to get
Mm-hmm.
that. And then I thought about it. I'm like, well, I guess you're right. Like I deserve what I want. We're all kind of born deserving. And I was like, where along the way have I not believed that? And that was like when I started to recognize some of these stories and be like, I don't want to believe that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And started to create the empowering like I am becoming beliefs. And that's been honestly the thing that's changed me. Like even a year ago, even 6 months ago, like the amount that I have changed because of this stuff is crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, you just like dumped a whole bunch of knowledge. So I'm like, let's go, let's go. But I mean, you basically just like gave a mini master class in like affirmation writing and like reframing negative thoughts, because there's this, you know, this whole concept of like writing an affirmation can seem very, I know when I first started writing affirmations, I had the same kind of reaction you did, which was like, fuck that. I don't think I'm beautiful. Fuck that. I don't think I'm worthy. That's not real. Like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And something that was really pivotal for me was having a therapist tell me, like, you don't have to believe what's out there right now. What do you believe? What is the pathway to possibly believing that at the end? And it was those process words that you're talking about. Like, I am working towards believing I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
I can believe that, you know, and like I tell my journaling group that all the time when it comes to affirmations. Like, if you don't believe this end thing right away, start with what you do believe, but use it as a doorway to what you hope to believe someday. And then
Totally.
eventually those become little steps that lead you to that eventual belief of whatever the thing is that you want to believe, but it doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
And I think too, like, you know, in terms of like thinking, oh, well, you know, I'm not feeling like I'm lovable or worthy or I'm enough. It's like, that's just not a real thought. Like, even if it's not, and we're just like living in la la land of like, let's have beautiful thoughts and blah, blah, blah. Like, it feels better.
Mm-hmm.
It feels better to believe that I'm worthy and that I'm enough and that I fit in, or that I don't, and it makes me unique. Like,
Totally.
why would I deny myself the pleasure of living a joyful life? Because what? If I'm miserable, then what, you know? Like,
Yeah.
so
I experience that a lot in people. Like a lot of people don't believe they deserve. Let's just use a body, right? Because that's how I help women.
yeah.
They don't believe they deserve the body they want because they're not there yet, right? And a way that I have helped people start to believe it is, okay, why not? And when they try to describe why not, they're like, you know, really grasping for things because they actually don't have a reason. It's just what they've always told themselves.
Yeah.
And another contrary, like, I guess another counter question would be, if you don't believe you deserve whatever the thing is, right? Then why does that person? like who are they? Like,
Right.
they don't deserve it any more than you do, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, and that for me was like a mind-blowing thing in terms of when I was changing my body, because I was like, why does she get to look that way? Because when I was so focused on like looks, right? Like, why does she look that way? I want to look that way. Why can't I look that way? And I was like, oh, I've been telling myself I can't look that way. So I've been doing things to prevent myself from looking that way.
Yeah.
And it
It's
was just this
crazy.
like mind fuck,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean,
So
the mind is very, very powerful. Like, and there's so many different schools of thought around, you know, how to improve your mood or your self-confidence or get what you want. And to me, it all boils down to like the mind and the power that our mind has, whether it's, you know, cognitive behavioral therapy and changing your thoughts, or you know, more spiritual psychology, or meditating and realizing that we're all one. And, you know, like it all comes back to the brain and like the ability our brain has to influence what happens in our lives.
yeah,
It's just crazy. And like the subconscious, like if I don't believe that that's what I deserve, then I'm going to do things to actively not get that thing without
yeah,
realizing it. It's crazy.
totally. There's two things required to get what you want. Desire, so you have to want the thing, right? And belief.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't believe that it's possible, then you will sabotage,
Mm-hmm.
right? If your desire is not strong enough, then you won't do it, right? Because it won't be big enough for you to overcome the obstacle. Say you want to get really strong. If you don't really want to get strong that badly, then you won't. So the desire and the belief have to be there, and they have to match. And that's like when you see people like living their best fucking lives and they're like so aligned, right? Like let's use like Mel Robbins, right? Or like Brene Brown. These people are like so fully stepping into their purpose. You can just tell, you see them, they exude this like alignment. I don't know how else to describe it. They have the belief and the desire, and it's there and it's matching, and that's almost like what allows you to quantum leap results, is when you can start to believe. And the belief part is often the hardest thing, because we all want shit, duh. It's uncovering all the limiting like roadblocks to get you to believing like, oh fuck yeah, it's possible,
Yeah.
hell yeah, right?
Yeah. So I'm curious how do you help your clients overcome or even realize that they have these negative beliefs and then overcome them so that they can get what they desire?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. Well, I think a trained ear. I've been doing this for a while, and so I actually just had a discovery call with a client earlier today. She was talking to me about a bunch of stuff, but the main thing that she said was, I just can't seem to lose these last 10 pounds. And so I let her talk and explain everything. And I was like, all right, do I have permission to give you some feedback? Like sometimes I'll do a little coaching on on a sales call, right? And she's like, yeah, of course. And I was like, well, the first thing we have to change is your language. If you tell me you can't lose the last 5 to 10, 15 pounds, you won't. And it's like starting to pick up on where like the language around, and it's usually like I should or shouldn't, I can't, I won't, I tried. It's like all of these like almost victim words where
Mm-hmm.
it takes the power out of our hands. And so when I can recognize that, I can just say, oh, you just told me you can't lose the last whatever pounds. And she's like, oh shit. And it's just like boom, right? So I have clients like do a dump of what are the things I've told myself about my body, about food, especially because a lot of women, it's not the exercise, it's the food that's really like the hard thing. I can't stop eating. I can't stop binging. I can't stop overeating. I just can't seem to lose the last few pounds. I just can't lose this tire around my stomach. Like I can't lose my belly fat. I can't use my arm flab, like all those things. So what are the
Is it
things?
something that you have them like write down or like, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So I'll just ask like, do a dump, write
Yeah.
them all down. Right. And then from there, once you see it, it's kind of like oh shit, I believe a lot of things. And then asking them line by line, do I have evidence that this is true? And actually just getting curious, right? Like the way that I did with my I don't fit in or I'm not good enough belief. And often it won't be their truth, it will be somebody else's. Like, oh, my mom told me that I can't, blah, blah, blah. So I now think that. Like my mom told me like, oh, like our family has trouble with big thighs. So I believed that to be true for me. And then I couldn't lose the weight there, right? Or whatever. And so just getting curious around it. And then if they decide that they don't want to live in that space anymore, because that has to come from them. So you guys, like, whatever beliefs you have, assuming you don't want them anymore because they're just holding you back, thanking them for existing, first of all, not being mad at them, and then just being like, okay, now today I get to decide to rewrite my story. What's that story going to be? It could be anything, literally. And I think that's like gives you the empowerment to be like, I could be anything I want to be. And I almost took that moment of me falling on the floor as being like, fuck everything. Like, I'm reinventing myself. I don't care anymore what people think, because I've been living so long about caring about what people think, having FOMO, trying to fit in. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm so sick and tired of my own shit and living my life for somebody else. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to live my life for me. And so I get clients to write what that next version of them is going to be. Like, okay, instead of I just can't seem to lose the last 5 to 15 pounds, is I am, and instead of trying to lose something, you're trying to gain it. So changing that dynamic, like I am, getting healthier every day, or I am satisfied with where I'm at, but eager for more. I am becoming someone who deserves her dream body, right? Like I'm taking it one day at a time and starting to like really dig into like, what are the things or the patterns I do, and creating a counter belief with that action verb we were talking about, like the process, I am becoming, I am doing, like making it feel like, oh, it's possible, instead of saying like, I'm losing weight. It's like, it's possible for me to lose weight. So it's just like that little inkling of hope, almost like tricking yourself and being like, I mean, I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
And then soon it will be like, it's possible. And then soon it will be like, I can do this. And then you'd be like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Just the baby steps.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And like my journaling brain is like visualizing like how I would like map this out in a journal. And like, it's great. It's like something that anyone can really use with whatever your goals are, that you feel like I just cannot accomplish this. Like making a list, or like I love that you called it a dump of like, what are the beliefs I have about not being able to do this, or about failing, or about not succeeding, getting those all out, and then marking the evidence of like, why is it that I believe that? Where is the evidence for this? Where is the evidence against this? And then which of these do I want to let go of? And, circling those, and then writing new statements, writing new stories, writing new thoughts, and like doing that sort of, this is my new story. These are the new thoughts that I'm going to have.
Yeah.
I think that's such a great exercise and such a great place to start, because it allows you to have permission for and meeting yourself where you're at right now, without any shame or judgment, and just saying, look, this is where I'm at, and it's not my fault. Like, it's not, it doesn't make me a bad person. This is just where I'm starting right now, and this is where I want to go. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And like I think I took it so seriously. Like when I did this, I was like, oh, I'm dying. Like that's how it felt. and I encourage you guys to just like, to be a little, I guess, like playful around it. It's like, it's okay. Like it's fine. And we all have a starting point. And I think for me, like a good example of this is with my finances. Like I had no idea about money. Like I didn't grow up in a household that talked about money. There was a lot of shame around money. I had a lot of beliefs around money. And when I hired a coach, like a financial coach, and I was so embarrassed where I was at. And I remember she was like, Sam, like wherever you are is where you are. But if we don't actually figure that out, I can't help you. Like or else you're going to just keep living in denial. And I was like, fuck, that's what I've been doing my whole life. I've just been pushing it off. Like, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. And then I'm like, wait, it's actually just getting worse. So it's like, yeah, it sucks that initial like, oh my God, I'm in debt. Like, and this was me. Like, I was in credit card debt. I didn't know how much money I was making, how much money I was spending. I was running a 6-figure business, not knowing anything about it. I was like, I don't know, money comes and goes. Like, whoa, like I was like, I don't want to deal with it. It stresses me out. And then I realized, like, wait a second, I have to find, like, it was a really humbling moment of like, I got to figure out where I'm at so that I can move on.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, another analogy is if you opened Google Maps, right, and you didn't have that little blue dot telling you where you were, how the hell could you go to the supermarket or to the park or to wherever? You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have the like self-awareness and the acceptance of like where you're at in order to make the change. And that honestly is like the hardest part, is like coming to terms with like, well, I have $15,000 worth of credit card debt to pay off. That sucks. But like the longer you deny it, the like harder it gets to pay it. So acknowledging like, all right, I'm here. It's not ideal, but moping around about it's not going to make it better. So might as well just take it one day at a time, and just like, that's all you can do, literally. And that for me was like okay, it was humbling. And same with weight loss, right? Like when I was so overweight and like basically in the obese category, I was like, this sucks. I feel disgusting, fat, ugly. I can't get it together. I can't even look at myself in the mirror. But that comment that was made to me was like the fuel for my fire of like, well, it's not going to get easier to change. So, and I had to do that like one thing at a time. Same with my relationships. Same with my, like, literally every part of my life I've reinvented because I've realized my limiting beliefs and where I was at. And I was just like not happy.
Yeah.
And it's like, it takes time, like longer than you want. I'm still in the process. I don't know about you.
Like,
I need a bed.
A lot longer.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like, when I think when you realize that like you're not the only person like doing this work, it makes it a lot more enjoyable, because it's like we can have this conversation, right? And it's not like it's like, okay, like, yeah, it's like, damn, we're in the thick of it, but then also like you don't have to change. You want, like, you want to, because like that there's like more freedom on the other side, and like more peace, and like that's what life's about, is like enjoying it. And so yeah.
I love that. I like can't stop thinking about this Google Maps analogy. Like, I'm just like, it's, the metaphor is just expanding in my mind of like, for me at least, thinking about a lot of what my negative sort of, or like a limiting belief I have is like, well, it's easy for other people, but it's hard for me because the odds are stacked against me. And that's sort of like saying, I already know that my path to get to where I'm going is going to be a lot harder than yours, because yours is probably just a really clean boardwalk and it's just one street you got to go down with no traffic. But I know that I'm going to have to climb hills and, parkour, and it's going to be a lot harder. So I'm just not even going to open my eyes and see where my dot is. Yeah. But if I don't see where my dot is, I can't actually know that. And I also don't actually know where your dot was when you started. Like, you could have been in the forest where there were no roads and you had to, swing from trees. I don't know. Like, I don't know your life. I don't know your journey, So, and also like remembering like where we started too. Like, if I look at my, the Google map of my life, of my journey, like where my dot is right now and where I want to go, and then seeing like where the dot was when I started, like, oh my God, I've come so far. Yeah. And sure, like there's more work in my mind that I want to do, like, because I'm choosing this life of continual self-awareness. Like, that's what I want. And that's not for everyone, and that's fine. But if I see how far I've come, it's like, holy fuck, if I can get through that, through those roads and that forest, like, cool. Like, I can handle this. Like, and it made me think of what you were talking about earlier of like, I've gotten through hard days. And I saw a post on Instagram the other day that was like, you've gotten through 100% of your hard days.
Yeah. Like, how humbling. It's so crazy. You think about that, you're like, oh, like it makes my brain hurt a little sometimes, where I'm just like, yeah, you're right. Shit. It's like, it kind of calls you on your bullshit. Yeah. And I think that's for me, like, that is so important to just remember that, like, you're a lot stronger than you think,
Mm-hmm.
and you literally can do anything you want. And the craziest part is, like, as humans, I think we only tap into, like, I don't know, maybe like 60-ish% of our potential. I don't even know what the percentage is, but it's like stupid. And if we're thinking about the most successful people in the world, like let's look at Oprah. If Oprah's only operating at her 60%, can you imagine what she'd be operating at as her 100? Right? So it's like
Scary.
we're probably, like a normal person, whatever that means, is like we have so much that we could do,
Yeah.
but we don't think it's possible. Like we get in our own way, we sabotage, we procrastinate, we're perfectionists. We have all the reasons why we shouldn't, but it's like, yeah, but what if you did it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if you just tried it?
Yeah.
And that's been, honestly, I think the success I've had in my life is because I always think to my deathbed. I know this may sound morbid, but it's the truth. When I'm on my deathbed or wherever I'm dying, I don't want to have a single regret. Like that would be my biggest fear, is having regret. So I live my life on those terms. Like, will I regret doing this or not doing this? And often I'm like, no, I'll figure it out. I'd rather just do it and figure it out. And I think that comes down to like the trust that it's always worked out, it's going to be fine. And that, like, I know, like I've done research on people that are in nursing homes. Like they have one of a few things that they regret, and the biggest thing is like not allowing themselves to just do the things they wanted, living their life on somebody else's terms. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't fucking want that. That is the scariest thing. Like, I don't want to live my life for somebody else. What? So I could die and be like, God, I wish I didn't work so hard. Like, no, like I want to be like, I'm so happy I did the things I did. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so glad I prioritized fun and family. Like, I'm so glad I grew a business and like made it my little baby and it's like my mini project. I'm so glad I took that leap of faith. I'm so glad I lost the weight that I wanted to lose. Like, and it's like it happens. It's gonna happen how it happens. But regret is the thing that helps me stay guided. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to regret this.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's morbid. I think about death all the time, not in like a scare, like I should, I think about death in the same way of
Yeah.
like I'm like when I have to make really hard decisions in my life and I get really wrapped up in what's the right decision,
Yeah.
I just remind myself like, yo, I'm going to be dead one day. So like,
Mm-hmm.
just decide something. And if you don't like it, change.
Yeah.
Like
What's the worst
nothing,
that can happen?
yeah, nothing is, well, the worst that happens is I die and that's already going to happen.
Right.
So like,
Exactly.
I don't, yeah, I'm a fan of contemplating death and sort of like, visualizing what it's going to be like at the end of my life and how can I use that to make choices today that feel like really aligned with what I want.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think and it's like good, I think, to have, um, like to just remember that, like, if you feel stuck, it's probably because you're not making a decision, right? Like that's where the stuckness comes from. It's not from making like a good decision or a bad decision. It's from making no decision.
Mm-hmm.
Making no decision is still a decision, and that's a decision to stay stuck. And I remember like reading that or like understanding that concept, because I've always considered myself someone to be like indecisive. And I was like, why am I so indecisive? And I was like, oh God, I have such a hard time making decisions. Like, brr. And I was like, oh, it's because like I don't want to be wrong. Duh. Like I don't want to fail. And then I was like, well, wait a second. The only way I can fail is if I just don't do anything. Like that's for me, like failure is like staying stuck. So I might as well just make a choice. And if it's the right choice, cool. And if it's the wrong choice, it's a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And just knowing that like the most successful people get successful because they just make decisions and they learn and then they adapt and they get up. And honestly, like the past year has just been me like being like, fuck it, I'm doing it. Fuck it, I'm doing it. What's the worst that can happen? I'd rather just make the decision than like stay in my own puddle of shit.
Yeah.
And that's not how everyone's going to operate. I totally understand that, but it's also a good exercise. And like, if you are feeling stuck, like what's the worst that can happen? And if I make these decisions, like which one has the most pros, just do it. Like do it. maybe get someone to help you make that decision, like empower you, believe in you. And I think the belief, like going back to that belief thing, is like have someone that believes in you. Like it's been for me, it's like always a coach or like my boyfriend, just like, you got this, Sam. And hearing that is like, it's probably four of the most powerful words. Like, you can do
Mhm.
this. When someone believes in you,
Yeah.
that's it. You just
Yeah.
sometimes need that. Like, we need that little extra assurance to take the little leap.
Totally. Yeah. And I think, I imagine that your clients feel like so supported and held by you, and like just having you to look to or to hear from, like that they have someone who believes in them is like such a big catalyst to stick to their goals and to have someone to keep them accountable, but also to say like, I support you, I believe in you, and you can do this. You're not alone.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, so you talked about a lot of different sort of components of what I imagine you work on with your clients, like understanding limiting beliefs, reframing negative thoughts and negative beliefs, getting clear on a roadmap from where I'm starting and how I get to where I'm going, setting goals and figuring out, plans and structures for making those goals, and making decisions and getting unstuck.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you can touch on like what, and I also know that um, you have your clients do some type of journaling or writing or reflecting as a way to kind of help them through all of those different mindset things. And I'm wondering if you can talk specifically just about one of them that either you love to do yourself or that your clients find is really helpful, or something that maybe listeners can do at home as well.
Totally. Yes. I think the big thing is like my morning routine. And I make all of my clients adopt a morning routine. It can be like mine, or they can do a variation of it. But it's basically a 4-part little thing that I do every single morning, weekends, weekdays, while I'm traveling, while I'm home. And it sets the stage for my success, my productivity, me not eating because I'm bored, overwhelmed, stressed, me getting my shit done, and just like understanding myself a little bit more. And so I can actually give your people I have like a little download, so I can share that with you. But
Awesome.
basically, the first thing, well, when I wake up in the morning, I chug water. So highly recommend. Hydrate before you caffeinate, always. And then I chug coffee. Well, maybe not chug it. I sip coffee like a lady, whatever that means. Yeah, with my pinkies up. And then the first thing I do is write down gratitude. So anything I'm grateful for. Actually, this week, Kurt, my boyfriend, has challenged me to write down things I'm grateful for around New England weather, because I've been complaining about it so fucking much because I just want it to be summer and I'm so over the cold. Like, we're going to be moving to California in the next year, but like right now I'm really in the like, oh, I hate the cold so much phase. And so he's like, I challenge you. I'm like, God damn it. You're you're so right. I need to stop complaining. So right now, my tooties, as we call them, gratitudes, my tooties are all weather related, but typically they're things like flowers, or like the sunshine, or my clients, or all the money in my bank account, or like the fact that I have legs so that I can go for my walks, like stuff like that, whatever you're grateful for. So I write those things down. And then the next thing is affirmations. So my I am becoming statements. Recently, they have been around food and body image, because I'm releasing a course in a few weeks, and I'm kind of reminding myself of all of the things that sometimes I can forget. So like, things to do with like my daily habits with food, or even my beliefs about my body, like I'm good enough where I'm at, stuff like that, where I can fall into comparison, or like feeling I should be there by now, or all that stuff. So that's affirmations. The next thing is a brain dump. So anything on my mind. It could be a sentence, it could be a fucking paragraph, or like a few pages. It's so dependent on the day. This morning I had a lot to say, so I wrote a lot. But some days I really won't have that much in my head, and that's okay. And then I do a 1-3-5 list, which is basically like a to-do list on steroids. And it's fucking amazing. It's changed my life. And it's basically a to-do list with priority, because often when we have to-do lists, like we do the easiest thing first. And so this thing helps you figure out your like one thing. And how I help you like figure that out is, what's the one thing you need to do today in order to feel good going to sleep at night? And that's usually like the big thing. And then the three is like, you know, three medium-sized tasks. It would be awesome if you got them all done, but like, sometimes life's gonna happen and you won't. And the five is like miscellaneous shit, like gotta call my doctor, book that appointment, check you know, email stuff, like mundane tasks that could be put off and like aren't the biggest deal, but like you want to knock them out. And that really has helped me structure the day so I'm not overwhelmed and I just get things done and I feel productive and I feel like I have purpose for each day. And then that will take me anywhere from like, I know it sounds like a lot, but it's really not, like 2 minutes sometimes. It could be really short. Could take me up to 20, maybe 30. Like, it really depends on the day. But on average, I would say like 5 to 10. And then I go for a walk and then I start my day. And I think that having that grounding practice is like so huge for me. Like that's an exercise that you can adopt. And I find that it like, that is the biggest tool I have created after spending so many mornings feeling so overwhelmed, so flustered, uh, and then going to bed at night feeling disappointed in myself. And that routine has helped me feel so much better about myself, improve my confidence, self-esteem, my business. I get more shit done. Um, and I get to know myself. Like I start to know my patterns. I can observe like, oh, I do this when I do this, you know, like, oh, I was bored. I had this like weird window of time. I was kind of bored, but I knew I should be doing something. So instead I ate. Shouldn't do, like, I don't want to do that again, you know? And so it kind of helps you reflect. So
Yeah. When you kind of in, I mean, I really love the framework of how you do. It's so interesting for me to hear what other people's sort of morning journaling ritual is, because I have my own as well, and there's a lot of similarities. But it's cool because there's you've put your own unique spin on it in a way that like really helps you. I really want to try that 1-3-5. That sounds like it would really help me. And that kind of like, so I have a couple questions from the journaling crew, and you kind of answered one of them, which was like, is there a benefit to doing it in the morning versus the evening?
mm-hmm.
And it sounds like a lot of what you use your journaling for and what you have your clients use journaling for is setting themselves up for a successful day.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of becoming more aware of like what might I encounter today and how can I prioritize so that I feel really good about what I'm doing and I go to bed feeling really good.
Yeah.
Um, and then another question that somebody had that I thought was a good question, and I imagine some of your clients might have, is like, how do I make time for myself when I have so much other shit going on? Like if I'm a parent and I don't have a nanny and like COVID sucks, so like my family's here and I'm taking care of everything and everyone and cooking and doing my work. Like how do I take that time for myself and be consistent about it?
Yeah, totally. Well, I'll answer this and the other question in one answer, which is figure out what part of the day actually is easiest for you to carve out time. So some of my clients do their morning routine at night. Like they plan for the day because like nothing, like you're just sleeping, right? It's not like any crazy new thing has happened. So sometimes they'll do the morning routine at night, and that's cool. You know, you may have to adjust a few things if you get like new emails or like life things happen when you wake up. Cool. But if you set the framework, then you should be good. So figure out like where is a natural break in your day, what feels the easiest, and then start there. And then the way to start this is really small. So you don't have to, like I said, it can take 2 minutes. And I encourage all my clients when they start to just start with like gratitude. Just start by sitting down at a table with your paper and write down your little tooties. Then you're good, right? Then you can build onto that, but start somewhere. And I guess a reframe for, well, I just don't have enough time is, well, if you say you don't have enough time, you won't. That's first. But secondly, what is not doing this for yourself costing you? Uh, I can name a bunch. Your mental sanity, feeling like everyone else in the world gets priority over you, feeling like you never have any time for you, feeling frazzled, like a million things. I'm sure that the listeners can be like, yeah, I don't feel in control of my day. I get to the end of the day and I'm like, what did I do today? Like, how much longer is that going to be okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And when you realize the pain of not doing it is bigger, then you're like, oh shit. You know, that's what caught me to do it because I was so sick of my day to day. I was
Mm-hmm.
so like frustrated with myself, and I was like, I just can't do this anymore. Ah! And I'm like, I need to get my shit together, whatever that meant. And I was like, okay, I need to start developing this, which is why I'm like so obsessed with it now, because I spent the first 29 years of my life being a total like overwhelmed, like burnt out, feeling like go go go, like my head was spinning a million miles an hour, always feeling like I was giving to other people and not to myself. And I'm like, I just can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like typically you're already at your rock bottom. So like what's the worst that's going to happen if you carve out 5 minutes for yourself? Like nothing. You're just going to be much more mentally sane, and everyone else in your house is going to be happier because you're going to be happier.
Yeah.
And that's really like a huge reframe from a lot of my clients, is like asking yourself, like, what is it costing you? What is it costing your family or your coworkers? It's not just about you. It's like it affects your life in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So it's that anchor.
Right. And I think like remembering or realizing or hearing again that it doesn't have to take a whole lot of time. It can be a 5-minute practice, and it's about the
100%.
and it's about the cumulative effect of doing it daily, and
Yeah.
those small little 5 minutes having an impact over time, because it's you're telling your brain every day I make time for myself, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes. You're training your brain to understand that like I once a day I'm the most important thing, and that alone is part of what's happening when you sit down and do that little ritual. It's the
100%.
content too, but it's also the act of I'm showing up for myself once a day.
Exactly. That's it. It's like keeping that one promise to yourself.
Yeah.
And honestly, like you can literally dedicate 30 seconds. Like it doesn't matter. Just do something. And I think like we all fall into the like all or nothing, like, if I can't do the full thing, I'm not going to do it. Fucking stop that right now. Your all or nothing mindset is not serving you anymore. There's a million shades of gray. And as soon as you let that go, I know for me, that was like such a big thing for me, is like, if I can't do the full thing, like I'm not going to do it. It's like you release that pattern, a whole new world is out there, girlfriend. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
And setting down like a minute to do your, even just to do your 1-3-5 list will dramatically change your day. You know how good it feels to check things off, to get them done?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's a human nature. We like love feeling productive. Like, yeah, we showed up. We created meeting. We have purpose.
Right.
And it's huge. It's so crazy. The results I've seen, my clients, everyone that did my 14-day challenge, people all over the internet, I just randomly will get DMs. Your 1-3-5 list just changed my life. Like I have so many messages about this thing. And I'm like, well, I didn't create it. First of all, I've just adapted it to my morning routine. But secondly, I know it's amazing. And like, even with the 1-3-5, like it doesn't have to be 1, 3, and 5. It could be 1, 2, and 4. It could just be one thing. It's like, feel free to get really like, make it yours, make it adaptable and moldable, and like whatever you got to do to just get the things that you want to get done and feel good. It's just a feel good tool. That's
Yes.
it.
Oh, I love it and I want it, and I want you to share it in the group. Like I
I
feel
will.
like it's such a great tool. Okay, I want to do 2 more things before we wrap up. The
Cool.
first one is like, so you have given us so much good shit, Sam. Like I just love the journey you took us on. Like I feel like I learned more about you. I do every time we talk. And I'm so grateful that you showed up and just poured yourself out for this group and provided us with so much amazing information. So please, I want to give you space right now to tell us like, what are you doing right now? How can people work with you? How can they find you?
Yeah.
Share like how we can access more of this amazing knowledge.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm super grateful to be here too. And I love you. And I'm like so happy that Instagram has brought us together. It's such a beautiful place. Sometimes it's not, but most of the times it is. And I just love it. I'm giving you a big hug. But yeah, I mean, okay, so how to work with me. I offer like, this is what I'm doing recently. I have one-on-one clients. I have a group coaching program, and I'm also releasing an 8-week online course that's called Break Through the Binge. And it's basically to help women like heal their relationship with food, stop overeating, stop binging, basically everything that I was doing that was holding me back from my dream body. And then in fact, when that healing happens and the emotional weight is shed, then the physical weight just kind of falls off. So it's an 8-week course. I'm really so excited because it's like my life's work in a course. And that's going to be, there's a wait list for it. I'll give your listeners a link. You'll get 25% off if you get on the wait list, which is exciting. And it starts May 25th is going to be like numero uno, day one. So get on the wait list, and then it will be launching the week prior. So I'll give you all those details. That's really exciting. And I have a podcast you guys can listen to, Balance with Sam. That's where I share a lot about my own personal journey. I have really cool guests on there that talk about everything from like entrepreneurship to their own relationship with their body, disordered eating, body image. Everything, negative self-talk, overcoming limiting beliefs, pretty much all that we just talked about on our, this live, which has been so fun. And yeah, I'm on Instagram, like just hanging out. I'm just trying to have as much fun as possible, teaching a workshop, starting to teach more, which is really exciting. And so yeah, I think the best way, honestly, if you are interested in working together, is join my course, because right now my one-on-one clients spots are totally full and my group coaching has one spot. So cool, but the course is where it's at. It's going to be amazing, and I'm not offering it for this low of a price again. I'm doing this for like the first group, so it'll be a lot of fun, and that's the goal, is like to have as much fun as possible, to make this enjoyable, and to really just help show people like what they can do, like empower them to be like, yeah, you fucking can do this, like you got this, girl. I am the burrito and you guys are the filling, and I fucking swaddle the shit out of you, and I just roll you up, and I'm like, girl, you good. Literally, that's what I tell my client. I'm like, you guys are just a filling, like the cheesy, beany, ricey, meaty filling.
I love it. And that's like a perfect segue, because if you guys don't already follow Sam on Instagram, she's at Salty Lifts, like
Yes.
which is like like the best Instagram username ever. But she is like my little slice of joy every day. And I'm going to make her do this with me to finish this off. But she's always dancing.
Yes.
Instagram story. And it's just like, it brings me so much joy, because like, she's just like, you'll see. Sam, will you dance with me to like wrap up?
I always end my calls, like client calls, anything calls, with a dance. It's just so important to get out of your head. I have to practice it myself. And so, yes, 100%.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
I'm always ready. I hope you can see my butt.
Woohoo!
I got my my crazy sweatshirt on. It's like,
I love it. I'm not wearing a bra, so things are gonna get weird.
Oh, hey. Things are getting weird up in here.
I love it. Oh my god.
Oh god.
Thank you so much, Sam. That was amazing.
Yes, girl. I'm so grateful to be here, and I really hope this has been valuable for your audience, for you, and yeah, like, cheers to stepping into who we are meant to be, like, enough of this, like, I don't fit in, I'm not good enough. Like, no, you fucking are. You're fine. You're good where you are, and we can all have goals and like work towards them, but just like be satisfied with where you're at, eager for more. Yeah. That is the mantra.
I love it. Thank you so much, Sam.
You're so welcome. I love you so much, and I'm so grateful. And give me some feedback in the comments, or hit me up on Instagram. I'll be there.
Love it. Love you, girl.
Okay. Love you too. Bye.
Bye.